all, in the previous video, we spoke about introduction to Java and then we understood why Java is called as a platform independent language. In this video, what we will do is we will discuss about classes and objects in Java. So, Java is an object-oriented programming language. Now, when you say object-oriented programming language, you should have objects, right? But in the previous video, we did not speak anything about the objects. What we have done is we have written a simple Java class file. Now, what we will do is Java will not have a simple class, only a single class file. It will have numerous number of classes. Now let's see a sample class file. Now in the last video what we have done is we have written a main class and inside that we have written the main method. Okay. Now Java will not have a single class file. It will have multiple class files. Now what I have done is I have written a class file related to the dog, and I have written a movie class file. I have written a player class file, and there is some other logic. So if there are multiple number of classes, what is the starting point of execution? Now after compiling, like this is my Java project. When I compile this project, what happens is there will be dot class files generated for each and every file. Okay, dot class file will contain the bytecode. Now when you give these class files to the JVM, it should what it does is it will convert the bytecode to the machine level code and then it starts executing. But there should be a starting point of execution, right? If you have multiple number of classes, how JVM know from which class I should start? Okay. So for that, what you have to do is the starting point, or what JVM does is when it executes the bytecode, it look for a specific method in a class. So if you see, this is the syntax that JVM looks. So how the method should look like is, class name can be anything, but the method structure should be like this. It should have a public access modifier because this class has to be accessed by JVM. So if this class has to be accessed by JVM, this method has to be accessed by JVM. So it should have public, because if you declare it as a private, JVM can't detect it. And then we will discuss more about the static. It should have a static keyword and the return type of the method should be void and the method name should be main. And the parameters of this method should have an array of strings. And this name can be anything. You can put args and you can put any other name. But it should have a public access modifier and then it should have a static keyword and the return type would be void and the method name should be main, and then this should be the parameter. So when JVM runs all the class files, what it does is it will search for this particular method and then whatever is written in the method, it will execute it. Now you might get a doubt, like if you may get a doubt that if the JVM detects only this method and runs only this particular method, what about other classes logic? Because I have written so many Java files like guess, game, player, movie, dog. So you can put your logic here, like let's say you can create an object for dog and then you can invoke methods. All that can be written here. So you are basically using main method to invoke methods present on your dog class and all. So that in this way, you can utilize the logic that is present in your classes. Okay. So whenever you are starting a new project, first and the foremost thing what you have to do is you have to write a main method, because that is the starting point of execution for the JVM, without which a project can't be run. Now, what we will do is, this is the class file we understood. What are objects? What is the difference between the class and object in the Java? So, class file, it's like a blueprint. Okay, so what is mean by this blueprint? So let us see this dog example, okay? So what happens is, usually you think of a real dog. So what dog will have? Dog will have a breed, and it will have a name. It will have a name and it will have a size, right? So a class in Java is like everything in real world can be compared with the objects in the Java. Okay, so like whatever dog will have, like dog will have the breed, name, size. Okay, and these are the properties of the dog. Okay, because these are the state. Like let's say a person comes to you, and let's say a person comes to you. By looking at you, what he can say, maybe he can guess your height, weight, and then the color. And when he asks your name, he can guess, like he can get details of yours. Okay, and what you can do can be put in the methods, because dog can bark. Okay, what are the things that dog can do are called as the methods, can we put it in the methods, and what are the things that dog has, like basically the state. Okay, now like you can assume that the state, we call it as an instance variables, and whatever dog is capable of doing can be put in the methods. So basically these methods are called as the actions, and the variables are called as the properties or the state of the dog. Let me explain these in detail with another examples. Okay, so if you see here, let's say you have a shopping cart. Oh, like you went to any online web shopping site and then you have a shopping cart. So variables, instance variables are the ones that class knows, and methods are the ones that the object does. Okay. Now what the shopping cart knows? Shopping cart knows about the contents that are present in the cart, right? And what shopping cart can do? Shopping cart can add items to the cart, it can remove items from the cart, and it can check out. So basically instance variables are the ones that the class knows about. And what a class can do, actions, basically actions, you can call actions as the methods, and you can call state as the instance variable. Because shopping cart, let's say you have added 5 items, and the shopping cart current state is it has 5 items. Okay, now these 5 items are called as the state of the shopping cart. And what else the shopping cart can do? It can do add items, it can remove items. These are the actions that can perform. So state is nothing but the instance variable, and actions are nothing but the methods. And you can also name it as a what a class knows is called as an instance variable, and what a class can do are called as the methods. Let's say you take any button on computer or any UI. So basically by looking at the button, what you can see, you can have a color and you can have a label, like what is that button? Is it control button, shift button, anything, and it will have a color as well. And what button can do, it can change the label of the button. Okay, and it can change the label of the button as well. And when you press is the action of the button, and release is the action of the button. Setting the color is the action of the button, and setting the label is the action of the button. So button knows about its label and the color, and button can be pressed and it can be released. Okay, so these are all the methods, because these are all the actions that a button can perform, and these are all the state of the button. And button knows are called instance variables, and what a button can do is called are called as a methods. Okay, and you can compare this with an alarm example as well. So usually when you look at an alarm will have the alarm time, and then it will have the alarm mode. Okay, so alarm mode is like you will sneeze it, right? You will snooze it. So alarm time and the alarm mode are the state, these are the state variables. This is the state of the alarm. What is the alarm? Like when you put an alarm, what you do is you will set the time, and you will set the mode also, whether it has to be snoozed or not. And what alarm can perform, it can set the alarm time, it can get the alarm time, and okay, and it can snooze it as well. Okay, these are the actions that an alarm can perform, and this is the state of an alarm. Okay, so what an alarm knows is called as an instance variable. What an alarm can do is called as a methods. And you can know, like you can compare this about with the song as well. Usually a song will have a title and it will have an artist who has sung the song. Okay, so basically the title of the song and the name, when you say the title, it's the name of the song, and the name of the song and the artist, it's the state. Because when you look at it, when you talk about a person also, he has some state, like his gender, his gender, and then his height, weight, these are the state. And a man can eat, man can chew, so these are all the actions that a man, these can be put it in the methods. In the same way, song title and the artist is the state, because song knows about that, and you can set the title, you can set the artist, and you can play the song. These are the actions that you can perform on the song. So those are called as the song knows about title and artist, and song does play this song. Okay. So if you see, what a class knows are called the instance variables, and what a class can do are called as the methods or the behavior. Basically, you can compare instance variable as a state and then methods as the behavior. So with these examples, what we have understood is, basically if you take any class, it will have some state and it will have few methods, some state and the few methods. So when you say state and behavior, what it will have? It will have few instance variables and then it will have few methods. And these are not mandatory, but these are the only two things that can be present in a class, but these are not mandatory that all the time you need not have instance variables, and all the time you need not have methods as well. It depends on the example or the class you created. Now if you see the main class, what we have done is, it has only the one method, main of method. It did not have any instance variables. Okay, and there are other scenarios as well where you don't have, where you don't have methods but just the instance variables. It depends. Okay, now you understood what can be present in a class, right? It will have state and then it will have the behavior. So why Java is so popular is, it's called an object oriented program, right? Everything in the world can be represented as a class. Okay, so you can easily relate, because every class you can compare it. Like here, when you say about the dog, it will have all dog related things. When you talk about a movie, it will have the title, it will have the category, it will have the rating, and you can play movie. So easily you can relate it, right? Okay, this is related to the movie, and these are all the state that it can present, right? So you can easily relate Java classes to the real world scenarios, and that's where you can easily grasp the techniques. And now we are done with the class, right? Now what is mean by object? So class is just like a template. Okay, when you just determine the classes, you can't work with them, because let's say I want to create few dog objects. Like if you see the simulation game, what you see few objects that keep moving, right? So in that, there are multiple objects that moves in a simulation game. So what happens is, this is a template. Like if you want a dog, you have to create dog using this template. Like every dog will have the size, breed and name, but the breed of, like let's say you have 10 dogs present, and 10 dogs will have different breed, different name and different sizes. Those are all the objects, but all those will have the common properties, like it will have the size, breed and name. So using this template, you can create a real world objects. Okay, now you have, like using the class, you have to create the objects. This just acts as a template. Okay, now when you can see the contact squad in your mobile. What happens is, whenever you click on a new contact, what you can see the first name, last name and all. So those are all blanks. Okay, but you have to enter. When you enter and save it, then you will have the contact. So as soon as you click on create new contact, it is giving you the contact class, because it will have the first name, last name are the states, and these are the instance variables. And then when you click on the save, the contact is actually created using the contact class. You actually created a contact. So dog is just acts as a template. When you create an object, it will you can actually work with the objects. Let me show a simple example. So here there is a dog class, but let's say you want to create a dog. How can you do it? You can do that with a new variable. So this is a Java keyword, new dog of. When you do this, you get a dog object. This class is just a reference, it's a template, it's a blueprint. Okay, now when you actually need a dog, you have to do this new dog of. And then let's say you want to set the size of the dog. What you can do is d dot size equal to 40, and then you call it as a d dot bark of. Let's say you need another dog object. What I can do is new dog of, and then I can set the d dot breed. Okay, you can American breed, something like that. You can do this, and then you can call d dot bark of. So assume you can assume multiple dog objects getting created. It's like let's say you have a template file. Okay, you have an email template or an application form. Basically, the application form will not have the, it's of no use if the person did not fill it right. You, what an application form will have, it have a specific template, like a person should fill the first name, last, like person should fill the first name, last name, all the required detail. Let's say a student is joining a college, he has to fill his details, and then he has to fill his school details as well. But the application form, it will have a specific fields, but unless and until it is filled, it's of no use. When you give it to a student, he fills his details, when then he has to submit the application form. That is the actual application. So here the class is also the same. Class just acts as a template, but when you actually create an object, then only you can really work with that. Okay, now like we have, what we have done is we have created two objects of the Java, because there is a class for the dog, and then you have created two objects for the dog. And you can do the same thing for the movie also. Here let's say you have created a movie. Like usually every movie has to have these properties, and every movie will have this action. Now there are multiple movies, right? So let me do that. Okay, now I'll uncomment this. So here what we have done is we have created three movies. One first movie title is the Gone with the Stock, and the category, and then the rating. And the second movie is the Lost in Cubicle Space, and then it will have the category, and then you are playing it. And the third movie is Bike Club, and then the tragic but ultimately lifting, and then you have given the rating. Let me run this, what happens. So if you see the output here, what had happened is we have done play it off. Okay, in the play it, what we have playing the movie. So if you see here, if you see the main class, let's do from the starting. So you have set this size, and you are doing the d dot bark of. In the bark of method, what you have, rough. So what it had printed, rough, it had printed for the first time, rough. And then second dog object you have created, and then you have invoked bark method, and then what it will do again, rough. And then next thing what you have done is, here you have just this state, you did not actually invoke the play it. And then here what you have done, you have done the play it, and then you are playing the movie. Okay, now here you have not done anything. Now these are all the generic terms, right? You don't know who is barking here and which movie is getting played. Let me add that in the methods. Playing the movie, let me add the movie name, title. Okay, and then in the dog also, what I'll do is rough, and then is, what I'll do is barking, rough, and then I'll print the breed name as well. Okay, now let me run this program again. If I run this program, the output will be a little different. Okay, see, let me run this program now. So if you see here, initially we did not set breed here, right? That's why it came as the null. Here you had set the breed. And when you invoke the bark method, it is actually giving you which dog is barking, rough American. And then here also when you are actually playing the movie, initially what we have done is you have just written the playing the movie. But you don't know which movie is getting placed. Here if you see, lost in cubicle space is getting played. Okay. Now this way what you can do is you can have a class and then you can create multiple objects. Okay. Now here what we have done is we are using the main method, and then main method is interacting with each and every class like dog and the movie, but other classes are not getting interacted with each other. Like dog is not getting interacted with the movie, like these things. But in Java what happens is the interaction actually happens between objects. Like movie might interact with the player, movie might interact with the person. These object complex interactions will be there in the Java. So let us see. Till now what we have done is we have written everything in the main class, and main class is interacting with the dog movie. But now what we will do is let us do a game. So usually what happens is when you start a game, it will randomly generate a number, okay? And then there are multiple players. Players have to guess which number it has generated. Like let's say you assume 3 players are there, and the first player guesses the number, and the second player also guesses the number, and the third player also guesses the number. And then what you see is if any one of these players guesses the number, your game is over. Okay. There is a game which guesses some number. Okay. And what players have to do is which gives one number, and what player has to do is they have to guess the number. If any of the players guess the number, they are like the game is over, and whoever guess the number is won. And if like let's say your game has given number 7, and the players did not guess it, and this thing has to be repeated till any of the players are won. Okay. Now let's see how I have written that logic. So there is a player class. Player, each time what they will do is they'll guess the number. Okay. Like whenever they guess it, they can set the number. Okay. This number equal to some math dot random. Random will give you a random number. So yeah. Like, yeah. So what happens is whenever player guess a number, they will set this instance variable. They will set its state because he has done some action, and with that action he has got some output number. Okay. Now we understood the game logic, right? So what happens is whenever you start the game, this is the player class is the blueprint for the players, and you have to create 3 players. What they have done is, as I have told, to create an object, you have to use new keyword, new player of first player, and then here we have declared it, and then here we are instantiating it, and then player 2 is the new player of. Now till now none of the players had guessed it. Okay. And P1 everything is false here. These are the initial state. Now what happens is when you start the game had guessed some number, the target number. Okay. Some math dot random of. Now what players has to do is they have to guess this target number. Okay. Now here P1 dot guess of, P2 dot guess of we have done. And then when the player guesses, what they do is they will set the number right here. Okay. Now you can guess P1 of P1 dot number P, like you can take the numbers that each player has guessed it, and you check whether the number that player 1 guessed is equal to the target number or not. If so, you give it as a true, and whether the number that the player 2 has guessed is equal to the target number or not. Okay. Now likewise, if you will do this, if any of the players has guessed the number, then we have got a winner. Else what you will do is you will repeat the same process, and you will understand, you might get a doubt like where are we repeating the process. Here if you see, I have given a while loop. So this while loop will run forever. So it will come out of the loop only if there is a winner. Break off is there. We will talk about break off file later. Okay. Now here what had happened is you have a guess game class which is interacting with the player. Because if you see, it has created the instances of the objects of the player, and it had invoked methods player.guessoff here, and it has accessed the state of the player. So likewise, what happens is in Java, when you write a like real world project, what happens is you might need to interact multiple classes. Like guest game here is interacting with the player, and player is interacting with the guest game. There can be multiple classes you might be interacting with, not just with the main. Okay. Yeah. I hope you understood about classes and objects in Java. And in the coming videos, we will talk about the variables. Thank you.